The tempo of patting a baby. I don't know if that's something other people think about. When I say tempo, I don't know if it's a term common outside of music, but it's the speed. So when I was learning piano, there's this metronome. It goes tick, 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 and you can set how many times a minute. Go tick, 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 right? So you play accordingly, right? Each note has a different length depending on how fast it is. So the thing is, when you pat a baby, do people change the tempo? Do people think about it? I mean, I looked at other people, like my dad, he just pats the baby the same. But I feel it's different, right? So if you're thinking about music, right? When you're getting yourself excited, starting for the day, you're ramping yourself up for a workout, you play usually fast, upbeat music. Upbeat. The beat is up. It's fast. The tempo is high. And when you're calming yourself down, like soothing, right? The music slows down. The notes flow at a slower rate. I think for the baby, I do the same thing. So when I'm starting initially, I do pat, pat, pat quicker to get the baby in tune with me. And then later, as we're getting into it, I slow down to calm the baby down, right? I do it fast to get their attention. I slow it down to calm them down, like controlling their heart rate, except I don't think I am. But I wonder if people think about this for babies and all these methods of adjusting for stuff to change the way you interact with the baby. I mean, when you think about that, right? We try to influence them, and we do and we don't. There's some things we just sort of give up on, and there's some things we try very hard. Like constipation. Or defecation is sort of the proper term, right? Because constipation is something we're working on. But you're teaching them how to poop. And there's books for that apparently. Like there's Everybody Poops trying to normalize this idea of pooping. Talking about different animals and pooping and stuff. But those are for older kids who talk, who look at pictures and books. My baby, you give her a book, she'll open her mouth. That's how she interacts with everything basically. But the thing is, I don't think she pooped properly. She stands up and strains. And I'm pretty sure that babies are like adults and they should have a better way of doing it. So they should, you've seen the posture, the fetal position is better for pooping, right? Put your knees up to your chest, and some people even do that on a toilet to help them poop. The squatty potty is better, right? More physiologic, more natural. Helps the poop come out more easily. But how does a baby learn that? Do you teach them? When is it that your behavior influences them? When is it that it doesn't matter? They're going to do what they do. Do they walk differently if the parents walk differently? Like if someone parent has a limp, do the babies also learn to limp because they think that's what you're supposed to do? There's some things they just try themselves. They don't really learn by observation or mirroring. I don't know. But I do know that controlling their mood and emotion seems to be related to the parents. Parents that are easier going seem to have easier going babies. It's natural. We all understand how that works, right? You can say some is genetic, but a lot of it's environment. And I think the idea of controlling their sort of thoughts, the rate of patting, does make a difference. Why is that? I think external influences obviously matter. The thing is, when you pat them, somehow it's a soothing thing. But they don't have much control, or they don't have any control over how fast you pat them. But you control that. And I don't think it's commonplace, well, why don't more people modulate the speed at which they pat? Sometimes faster, sometimes slower. It's like music. It's like singing. Sometimes faster, sometimes slower. You're not going to do the same thing all the time, right? And the question is a lullaby. It's very soothing, and you start it out right away. But you don't start out louder, or you don't start out faster. It's the same thing over and over, right? Most people just have it on the prayer. Twinkle, twinkle, little. But why don't we start it faster to grab their attention? And after you have their attention, then you play with it, right? That's what we do with normal human beings, right? I mean, you have the basic stuff, like here in Vietnam. The street vendor, they're just blaring their same thing, blah, 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 what they're selling, right? But if you look at any other form of advertisement, like the one that companies spend millions of dollars doing, they have a tension grabber in the beginning. And then they have something else afterwards, right? It's not going to be the same upbeat thing. It's going to be different. You have a scene that grabs your attention and it switches over. And it's usually slower, calmer, and it has a denouement at the end, right? The same with music. You may start fast and then you have this part in the middle where it's more lyrical, and then you have a conclusion at the end that may be softer. And shouldn't that be the same way with patting babies? So I pat, pat, pat. I may sing, and then you pat slower. And then I may go away without patting, and come back, pat again, and just hold my hand there for a while, and then eventually let go. And that's my way of calming the baby, by changing the tempo of my patting.